Kenya has listed, let's talk about the African Continental Free Trade Area, 14 merchandise and service sectors for trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area as it becomes among the first 6 nations to pilot the Continental Pact. This comes even as countries continue to push to clear pending issues on preferential rules of origin on sensitive goods, which account for about 7% of the tariff lines of the AFCFTA. The stalemate is on textile and apparel, sugar products, goods produced in special economic zones, edible oils, and motor vehicles. Still a long way to go to sort out the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Joining us now to discuss further, Johnson Nderi. He's the Manager, Corporate Finance and Advisory at ABC Capital Limited. Johnson, thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon to you. Start with AFCFTA. Does it hold promise for entrepreneurs on the African continent, particularly in Kenya where you are, with all the deals that still need to be sorted out?
Well, certainly. I once had a client who was struggling to bring in artifacts from Cameroon. And one of the areas where we were experiencing failure was because we didn't have, financial instruments that we could use cross-border to bring in the goods and services. And as a consequence, we struggled pretty much on that transaction. And I believe this will come in and help resolve such issues.
Is there any worry that these entrepreneurs won't be able to compete with larger firms when it comes to their market being flooded with goods coming in and then being able to export on the other side?
Usually you expect that, actually one of the benefits of if you look at it from a customer perspective, this is one of the benefits of international trade, because you're able to buy stuff cheaper, and you are able to, have more savings and more disposable income consequentially. So for me, that's not really a big issue. The issue is, it's incumbent upon the entrepreneurs themselves to stay competitive. So that should be up to them.
All right, the market will determine. All right, so to date, 54 African Union member states have signed the AFCFTA agreement. 49 have ratified it, making them eligible to trade. However, only 6 countries, including Kenya, so Ghana, Cameroon, Egypt, Rwanda, Tanzania, Kenya, are leading the pact in the pilot phase, with volumes expected to move as early as October. Can any progress be made with just 6 nations, one of which is Kenya, so far at this stage, out of 54?
Well, you work with what you have, right?
Yeah.
So you can only do so much. Here in East Africa, our experience is that the East African community has been brilliant in terms of supporting economic growth. I think EAC now is Kenya's largest trading partner. Before that, it was the Western countries. So we've seen progress in that, and it has helped, strengthen ties locally, not just economically, but also socially. So there are other benefits that accrue with such kind of arrangements, and we hope that we will see the same and observe the same with the AFCFTA.
Right, so let's talk about the visa grant for the African Women Impact Fund. How is this going to help female fund managers?
Well, one area I think we need to see more improvement is in the allocation of capital, and because I don't think we have enough players in the capital markets to assist with that. And they say with diversity you get new perspectives and a new way of looking at things, and therefore we expect to see these benefits accrue as a consequence of more women participating in the capital markets, and of course we'll have more resources then being moved in the capital markets and maybe better investment decisions. That remains to be seen.
All right, great stuff. I want to ask you about the business environment. If you are a betting firm right now, not being allowed to operate until after the elections are over. What was that for? Is that just to avoid distractions, or what do you make of that?
Yes, they're not the only ones. Even bars.
You can't get a drink because of the elections. You can't get a drink.
Apparently, they need you to wake up early and vote for them.
That is very well. What I mean, we're laughing about this, but I mean, what does that do for operations? Doesn't that impact profits for that particular day if you can't operate until after the elections are over?
It also tells you what they think about the electorate, doesn't it? They don't think you're responsible enough. So there's some sort of infantilization of the electorate. But it is what it is. I think at this level it's harmless. I hope it doesn't evolve further, in the next elections. But so that's ostensibly the reason.
Very interesting. They want to increase turnout. Speaking of the elections, without mentioning any names, is there any candidates amongst the top four that you think can spark investment flows, back into Kenya, if whoever wins?
Hard to say. Okay. One thing we can say so far is that the shilling has performed very well against the euro, the pound, the yen, except for dollar strength. I think probably might have performed quite strongly against the dollar as well. So on that basis alone, and even taking in our debt issues, we could argue that we probably are an investment destination, whoever takes over. I don't think I've seen any manifesto that jumps out as investor friendly in the two main ones, but I can say one better than the other.
Okay. And what about entrepreneurship? I mean, can an election victory for any one of these candidates improve the state of affairs for entrepreneurs in Kenya?
They're arguing that they will. I'm not convinced.
Right.
Only because the philosophy of improving the environment for entrepreneurship and investment. That philosophy, I've not quite seen it. They say it that it's not backed by a comprehensive worldview that I would have expected to have been brought out in pursuit of entrepreneurship and investment.
All right. Now, speaking of which, the Purchasing Managers Index for July, it's 15-month low. I think 4 months in a row now, it's been below the 50-point threshold, which separates expansion from contraction. Do you see that staying under that 50-point threshold for the time being, or do you see it improving? What's your take on that?
Around every election time, you see this dip. So, shall we say it's seasonality? And if we have this interview 5 years from now, we are likely to observe the same thing. So, and it's something the president has spoken about. But I think it is what it is. I don't think it's inescapable simply because people are not sure about what will go on, and people want to take that break first before they figure out the way forward. And I imagine that their thinking is whichever government comes, they have a different plan for each government, and as a consequence, then the need for wait and see. So we are here, and I don't think we can attribute it to much else other than the elections.
Gotcha. Just found about a minute ago. What, in your opinion, do entrepreneurs in Kenya need right now? Is it capital or what else? Briefly, if you can.
Sorry, did you say about entrepreneurs or investors?
Entrepreneurs, yeah.
Entrepreneurs, okay. My view is they probably need a better environment. And by this, I mean lower taxes, just so that they can become competitive, more freedom. I think we ask too many licenses from these guys, and we give disproportionate power to regulators, both small and large. And these guys have been making it hell for entrepreneurs to run their businesses here. So if they can, if just those two aspects, taxation and less regulation, I think you can see a significant positive difference in terms of both employment and investment.
Great stuff. Johnson Nderi, Manager, Corporate Finance and Advisory, ABC Capital. Also a big Juventus fan. I got to bring you back to talk Juventus ambitions in European football. Thank you so much for joining us from Nairobi, and hopefully we'll talk to you again after the elections. Thank you so much.